Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupamericashow.com. Well, most of you are probably watching us on Rumble, right? Or on X.com. The audience for the Wake Up America show is just getting wild. It's so big now. When yesterday I checked the stats between X and between Rumble, it was like 3,000 people live, and we're just kind of like, well, we had 10,000 live last week. Yes. But don't worry. I'm not going to get a big head about it. I'm going to keep bringing you the best ding-dang Wake Up America show, live Liberty content that you're going to get in the mornings with AP. Well, as humble as I've usually been anyway, right? I love hanging out with you guys in the morning. Thanks so much for joining us live. If you're a regular guest, you know what to do. Hit that like button. And if it's your first time here, follow the channel. We'd love to have you come back and join us regularly. We've got a bunch of fun, big news today. What are we going to start with today? How much longer will the cicadas be around? I'm getting sick and tired of listening to those things outside the window. It was fun at first. And when you knew that it was this dual emergence, which is very rare, it happens only so much years, you're like, oh, okay, that's fun. And then you're getting dive bombed by these ugly things, and your dogs are eating them. And you're like, no. And then it's like, then they fly into your eye. It's like, okay, enough of the cicadas. So when are they going away? Pretty soon. I'll tell you when. I've got 5 key takeaways from the hearing from that criminal Dr. Anthony Fauci yesterday. Marjorie Taylor Greene actually did a good job holding his feet to the fire. She refused to call him doctor, which was chef's kiss. Is it chef kiss? Does the chef's kiss go with the Italian fingers? You know what I mean? It's like chef's kiss, mwah. But then can you add a little bit of extra with a little extra ragu on top of that? It's like, yeah, love it. We'll talk about that. I've got some clips from the hearing yesterday, times that Anthony Fauci contradicted himself. We're going to poop all over Anthony Fauci today. That'll be fun. What else do we have for her, Johnny? I've also got an interview today with Camellia Peterson at 8 a.m. It's the big story. I know it's not really like a big story. Holy crap. Is somebody trying to unlock the bonus content this morning? It looks like they might. Listen, if your name is Michael and you're buying from AP for Liberty Shop this morning, come on down. Appreciate you very much. To unlock that bonus content, what do you have to do? You have to do what you just did, Mike. You just unlock the bonus content by buying a bunch of AP for Liberty Shop merch. What are you trying to do, sir? Help feed my baby? Well, thank you, Mike. We appreciate that. And what that means is that you guys get to, instead of watch commercials today, you get to watch the mini documentary that I have pre-produced for you, ready to go. Thanks to Dirty Mike over in the Rumble chat. Thank you, Mike. But don't let that stop you from making Rumble Rant donations as well, right? During the program. We appreciate you very much, Mike, for shopping at apforlibertyshop.com. We're going to speak to Camellia Peterson about this chick. So she's a former Turning Point USA ambassador. Her name's Morgan Ariel. And she is a single mom, Christian single mom, because, you let him hit it raw. Now you're a single mom. Anyway, she's lecturing men. She's first of all, she got fired from Turning Point USA because she hates the Jews, which, is what more and more common with the young kids these days. What does that have to do with any of this? It just speaks to a poisoned brain anyways. So she posted this yesterday, just made me laugh because she said that, and I posted it in the thumbnail, so you should be able to see it there. But she says, buying a house. Oh, if you want to be with me, if you can't buy me a house, I'm not interested. This is the bare minimum if you want to take on a wife and children. Don't you just love it, fellas? We're going to have so much fun. Camelia's going to join us today on the show at 8 o'clock, and we're going to dunkity-dunk It's gonna be fun. I mean, it would be one thing. I mean, she is like, I guess you could say conventionally pretty, but I'll show you some pictures a little bit later. But to me, she's a mid. But when she's a single mom, so it's and then but it's kind of like then you got Camellia, and she's also a single mom, but Camellia is like way prettier than this girl because Camelia's not a bitch. I posted the question yesterday on my X account. I said, guys, what do women do that what will instantly make them unattractive? And it's already got over 100,000 views this morning. Men like young, beautiful virgins with no tattoos.
Done.
Camelia just retweeted the stream, says, hashtag not all women. Exactly. You let him hit it wrong. Now you're a single mom. Anyways, we'll talk about that with Camellia. Also, the whole Star Wars, Disney is complaining that it's really hard to make female characters for the Star Wars universe because the fan base is exceedingly male. Well, firstly, duh. But second of all, how hard is it to write an Ellen Ripley from the Alien films? How hard is it to write a character like what Quentin Tarantino wrote for Kill Bill? Is it really that hard to write a woman who is, multi-dimensional and layered and fascinating and, has quirks and weaknesses, right? Isn't a Mary Sue that can do anything that she wants and use the Force immediately? Yeah, I was talking to a buddy of mine yesterday about the Star Wars universe and what it was like in the 1980s. Because if you were an early 80s baby growing up, then you had the distinct opportunity to live in a magical time when women enjoyed playing Princess Leia. And it wasn't that, this was before the age when they would all start wearing the Leia slave bikini to the gold bikini to the college parties later on in life because they really wanted our attention so desperately, desperately craving attention. Just please, for the love of God, give us attention. But back in the early 1980s, when Star Wars was relatively new, if you had a girl that actually wanted to play and hang out, play Star Wars with the boys, then they actually liked being Princess Leia. They liked, and it was like the Leia in the white dress with the earmuffs. Like they would go on Halloween parties, they would go as Princess Leia. They would have like those earmuffs they would put on that looked like the buns. And they actually enjoyed it and they liked that character. We liked Princess Leia. She was cool. And did you know that in the Star Wars movies, I know that most of these chicks who talk about this Star Wars stuff, they never watched any of the Star Wars movies. And especially, I think the women who are making these Star Wars movies now haven't watched the Star Wars movies. But did you know that Princess Leia wasn't just a wilting flower and she wasn't a Mary Sue and she didn't use the Force in the original movie? But did you know that she had a blaster? She actually became a general. Did you know this? General Leia Organa. But again, don't want to nerd out too much. And the fact that it's Camellia, we can't go too deep into the pop culture lore because she spent her time growing up, living in the woods as a Mennonite, right? She went to church on Saturdays and she just never watched any movies or TVs. Like most of like the pop culture knowledge that Camellia has was like gifted to her by me in the last 3 or 4 years. So we'll look forward to hearing from her at 8 a.m. We're mostly just going to talk about this single Christian mom who demands a house in order to take her or her child. You let him hit it wrong. Now you're a single mom. So we're going to talk about all that stuff. And then, of course, at 8:30 a.m. Central Time, we're going to have Angela McCardle of the Libertarian National Committee. Last time she came on, it made big news. And I got to give it up for her because I remember the last time that Angela McCardle came on this show, I wrote an article about her coming on and saying some, I guess, nice things about Trump. It wasn't like really nice. It was just like, I think he's funny and should be on Twitter. But Matt Welch at Reason Magazine got really butthurt about it. And a bunch of the Reason Magazine people were angry that she was saying nice things about Trump. And now Angela McCardle is going out there saying things like, we need to use our Libertarian Party leverage to get Donald Trump elected in the White House so that we can stop Biden. And wait a minute, they also have their own candidate, Chase Oliver, but they're going to use Chase Oliver to try and reelect Trump. But Chase Oliver and like the lefty libertarians hate Trump. This is just a wild, weird, and wacky dynamic. And Angela McCardle's going to come on here today and talk about it. And she's also kind of trolling Dave Smith for coming out and suggesting he's not going to support the Libertarian Party candidate, which I got to say, again, he's got a huge fan base. So it takes balls, big brass balls, Angela. Yes, yeah. Dave Smith's base is like just full of like angry men. They're all very like always. It was like we're gonna rip everybody apart all the time and be angry all the time. So Angela's like very ballsy to get out there and take on Dave Smith like that. So we'll hear from Angela McCardle about that at 8:30 a.m. Central Time. It's just gonna be another friggin' awesome show. It's the most badassest show that's not on television. It's the Wake Up America show with AP. God bless you. God bless you. Well, before we get to the big stories of the day, the big meaty, juicy stories, red meat stories, I got a couple of clips I want to play for you. And I thought if you're like me and you're annoyed by the cicadas, you're probably curious about how long they're going to stick around. But cicadas should be gone by mid to late June, at least. For those of you who are in the Midwest, if you're in Missouri or Illinois, the cicadas will be gone by the middle of this month. Thank God. You let him hit it wrong. Now you're a single mom. Cecilia says, good morning. We should stick Fauci's head in a cage and have flies eat his face, for science. How about not eat his face? Because that would be, I think, murder. But let's just put his head inside of a box and fill it full of the cicadas that are still around. What do you say? You let him hit it wrong. Now you're a single mom. Courtney says, yes, they've infested my deck. I know, they're gross. They're disgusting. And I think when your dogs eat them, you have to be careful because it can give them worms. Carla over on X says, I'm older, but I played Star Wars in my neighbor's backyard. He had all the guys, the Millennial Falcon too. Did you say Millennial Falcon? Carla. You let him hit it raw. Now you're a single mom. Now you're a single mom. Who cares about when cicadas know when to emerge or what kind of trees they like or what time they go to sleep? Well, maybe I know that's interesting. There's no definitive answer. Then who cares? Why are they so loud? Oh, the African ones apparently are wicked loud. The loud trilling is the mating call of male cicadas, an obnoxious or unpleasant sound to some humans, all of us. It helps cicadas find each other and reproduce within a short amount of time. The sound can reach 80 to 100 decibels in volume, equal to a garbage disposal, lawnmower, or jackhammer. God, those things are annoying.
No, God, please, no.
So they are going to be gone by mid-June. The Smithsonian National Museum of Natural History projected the emergence would last between 3 weeks and a month. An adult periodical cicada's lifespan is 1 month, so they should be gone since they emerged about a month and a half ago. So we've got maybe another 2 weeks until all of the cicadas are gone. And, I say good riddance to bad rubbish. Go away. You let him hit it raw. A lot of people are asking me about Judge Andrew Napolitano because of rumors that were flying around last night. I was getting just slammed with text messages and DMs last night about something happening to Judge Andrew Napolitano. So I'm going to go ahead and correct the record this morning because I contacted the judge to find out what happened. He was supposed to be on a flight to St. Petersburg this week. So initially, he wasn't going to be on the show tomorrow morning. You all know that he comes on Wednesday mornings at 8 a.m. Central. But the news that I was getting last night, which was incorrect, was saying that Judge Andrew Napolitano was taken off a plane to go to Russia, and his buddy, Scott Ritter, was also taken off a plane to go to Russia. Some of the reports that went around last night that were then retracted were that Judge Napolitano had his passport seized. But those rumors have been proven to be untrue because from the horse's mouth, I sent the judge a message just this morning saying I was getting messages saying that you and Scott Ritter were detained, that you lost your passports, the State Department was taking you down. And here's what Judge Napolitano says. He says that Scott Ritter was not detained. He was also not dragged off of a plane. He says 3 thugs claiming to be agents of the U.S. State Department but dressed in SWAT gear in carrying automatic weapons asked for his passport before he boarded his flight at JFK. Scott Ritter complied with their request. They did not show ID or give him a receipt. Apparently, they will see him again without their military gear in U.S. District Court soon. Judge Napolitano was at home when this happened. I don't know if that means that the judge got tipped off that he better not go and try and get on that flight to Russia, but it sounds like something is going down. Now, for those of you who don't know who Scott Ritter is, he is a convicted pedophile who was a former weapons inspector for the United States, and he's now flipped and has become a Russian asset. And is, very proudly pro-Russia in the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. And he's a frequent guest on Judge Napolitano's show. Now, I don't know if Scott Ritter is, I don't know if the judge got tipped off and was told that he better not try and get on that plane or head to JFK because he was supposed to go to Russia. But here's the thing. Another reason to watch the Wake Up America show, better tune in tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Central Time because we're going to get a lot more answers to this and find out what happened. At the moment, all I know is that the judge was supposed to be gone this week, not supposed to be on the show, and not supposed to be on the show. Then he messaged me yesterday morning saying that he was supposed to go to Russia, but it's not going to happen. And now he's sticking in the United States, and he's going to be here on the Wake Up America show tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Central Time. I have no idea what happened, but I'm thinking that the judge probably got a tip about appearing on the show or appearing in Russia, that the U.S. State Department was going to grab him. But Scott Ritter is no stranger to being detained. He wasn't detained in this situation. They just they just told him that, I guess gave him a summons. So he's going to have an appearance in U.S. District Court soon. It would not surprise me, knowing what I know about Scott Ritter, that he might be potentially involved in espionage, or the U.S. State Department might be considering that the possibility that Scott Ritter is engaged in espionage. But if you ever listen to the interviews that Scott Ritter does, it's, he's quite clearly pro-Russia. And of course, the U.S. State Department being, populated largely by Democrats at this point with the Biden administration in charge, that's definitely a no-no. I'm not saying that Scott Ritter, is involved with espionage. He could be, but, being so loudly and proudly and openly pro-Russia, and he's been photographed with Russian military generals at dinners and doing drinks with them, and he's very clearly pro-Russia in most of his coverage of the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. So it's possible he's being investigated for espionage, but of course everybody's innocent until proven guilty. Now, in terms of being proven guilty of the pedophile charges, that you have to actually go and check. Now, I imagine that Scott Ritter's defense of this is that because he was a weapons inspector and because he did not toe the line, that he was pushed on some trumped up charges. But if you actually look into the history of those charges with his interest in young children, it was a pattern. It wasn't like it was a one-off incident. And, where there's smoke, there's fire. Love to hear your thoughts about that. You can send us a text at 573-319-1586. Again, the text lines are open, and you can send a text to the show anytime night or day, because I'm always checking the text messages. Again, that number is 573-319-1586. Going one more time, that text line, 573-319-1586. I can't get over these videos of these graduating seniors from college like going out and celebrating their majors in all of these useless degrees. Take a listen to this one here. Hold on, let me pull up this clip right here. I love the caption from End Wokeness. It says, "Future line at the unemployment office." That's very funny. I actually think that she's going to be employed. She's all ready to work for McDonald's because she's got the Ronald McDonald wig ready to roll. There it is. Let's hear what Melanie
Hi,
had
I'm
to
Melanie.
say.
I'm studying the unseen body in creative spaces, erasure and exposure of the queer.
Yes!
Hey, I'm Nina, and I studied the arts, education, and social justice.
Yeah! I'm Joyce. I studied decolonial intimacies, indigenous politics of resistance.
Yeah! I'm Victoria, and I studied remembering or forgetting, navigating international conflict through collective memory.
Yeah! Hi, I'm Iman, and I studied monstrosity, the subaltern praxis. Or should I say I created it?
Yeah!
So when you say I created it, see, Stephanie, I was showing her these videos yesterday, and she was asking me, how could they possibly be majoring these things? Well, you can actually create your own major at a lot of these universities. That I don't think that existed when I went to college and graduated in 2004. But a lot of these students now will just take a course load and say, this is what my major area of study is going to be. And it's, theory of the subaltern
Hi,
praxis.
I'm Daniela. I'm studying living artfully, art as ritual therapy, and pathways of decoloniality. Yeah!
Black political economy. Okay.
Yeah!
I'm Natalie, and I'm studying fashion history and gender studies.
Yeah! And I studied phenomenological approaches to Black womanhood, specifically
Okay, so she's got a sexual fetish that is her area of study. Hold on here. It says fashion history and gender studies. Okay, might get a job. Phenomenological approaches to Black womanhood, specifically how bondage affects psychological and sexual what?
Approaches to Black womanhood, specifically
Me.
Didn't even let her finish. They're like, even the rest of the students were like, "Shut up! Yay!"
My concentration is the radical disruption for survival, development in sub-Saharan Africa, through social anthropology.
Hi, I'm Kira, and I study textiles and environmental justice.
Textiles and environmental justice. So this is a lefty who is going to force people to stop buying things from Temu one day as a congressional aid.
Yeah!
Can't hear it. Can't hear you. Can't hear you.
Hi, I'm Ava, and I study unwoman, fugitive family, relationships, and
I study unwoman. Just when I was starting to figure out what all the gender wing was, now we have something new. What's an unwoman? Is that a man? Fugitive family relationships. Okay, so fugitive, does that mean that you're on the run from your family, or does that mean that you're on the run from the law? And then also about the relationships of people who are on the run from the law, and identity, which, gay is
Identity.
queer as hell. Remember when Ron Paul got pranked by Bruno in the Bruno movie, and Bruno showed up, and and he dropped his pants in front of Ron Paul, and Ron Paul was running away from Bruno, was like, he's queer as blazes. He's queer as blazes. Ron.
transformative Black woman.
Okay, well, there's that, and it's all over. Thank God. Are you not entertained? If you're enjoying the Wake Up America show, do not forget to click that like button. If it's your first time here on the Wake Up America show, we'd love to have you be a regular guest. So make sure that you click that follow button. If it is your very first time here, come back and join us for the Monday through Friday regular schedule. This video just made me laugh. I'm going to make your day, just make you smile this morning. This is Guy Rose. This is the kid. He is the son of a congressman, and the congressman gets up to give this rousing speech, and he brought his son with him onto the floor of the House chambers. Watch his son's face during this one. Take a
Mr.
listen.
Speaker, I rise today to address the terrible precedent set in our country 4 days ago. Using the justice system to engage in a politically driven prosecution and now conviction of a major political party nominee running for president, especially on the charges brought against Donald Trump, should gravely concern every member of this body as well as every American across our country, whether they be Republican or Democrat, for Donald Trump or against him. Regardless of one's opinion of the current Republican nominee, we'd be well served to remember the long and cherished tradition we have in this country of settling our political differences at the ballot box. For nearly 2.5 centuries, our nation's elected leaders have properly resisted the temptation to oppose their political rivals through the weaponization of our justice system. equal justice for all, and an
Look at this little redheaded kid there. Very funny. Iros, that's the kid's name. All right. So were you able to see that or not? Did that
precedent set
hold
in
on.
our country.
I'm concerned that you weren't able to see the mugging. Did it go black? The screen go black? Sometimes it does that. Anyways, I thought it was funny. All right, so Remzo Martinez joins us live in 5. Enjoy the bonus content. Thanks to our buddy Dirty Mike, who bought a bunch of merch at the shop this morning. We're going to have a great show. We'll be right back. Don't go away. Enjoy this mini documentary on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Wake Up America show bonus content takes a look at one of the biggest underground themes in politics that has gone mainstream in recent years, the Overton window. The Overton window is a concept introduced by Joseph Overton, indicating that only a narrow range of policies in areas such as education are seen as politically acceptable. This window defines what politicians believe they can support without jeopardizing re-election. The Overton window is crucial for understanding societal and political change. It limits politicians to endorsing policies that are seen as legitimate by society. Policies outside this window, though existent, are typically not supported as they could alienate voters. This window is not static. It can shift or expand based on societal values. While politics can occasionally push this boundary, it's more commonly moved by gradual shifts in societal norms and values. Consider education policies, which vary widely. Society largely agrees on the necessity of education, but how it's provided is up for debate, ranging from full government provision to complete privatization. Most politicians support education policies that fall within a moderate spectrum, such as publicly funded schools or regulated private institutions. Extreme policies like total government control or no government involvement are rarely endorsed. The change in the Overton window over time is evident in historical shifts like prohibition. Once inside the window, making alcohol illegal is now seen as a bygone mistake, showing how societal values can shift political boundaries. The Overton window underscores that politicians are constrained by what is politically feasible, rather than merely acting on personal preference. They tend to support policies that align with societal norms and are likely to preserve their electoral viability. Politicians often follow rather than lead. It's societal forces, family, media, schools, that shape the political landscape more than individual political figures. For anyone looking to affect policy change, understanding the Overton window is key. Pushing for policies outside the current window requires broad societal influence and acceptance before politicians will likely lend their support. Even if your favored policy is currently acceptable, consider whether there could be better alternatives that haven't yet garnered mainstream political support. Sometimes, reevaluating ideas outside the current window can reveal untapped opportunities for advocacy and change. Welcome back to the Wake Up America show. I'm Austin Peterson. Appreciate you joining us here. It's time to rise and freedom. Hope you enjoyed that mini documentary. Usually it takes us the whole show to build up all the Rumble Rant donations, and we have to really be like, all right guys, we're so close to the goal. But Dirty Mike just stood up and bought a bunch of stuff from apforlibertyshop.com today. Thanks, Mike. I know everybody really appreciates that, especially me, so I don't have to beg. We appreciate all of our viewers this morning, especially those who have made those Rumble Rants already. Cecilia H., she donated $5. So did Courtney Conover. She donated a couple bucks. And Eric John Pizza Artist donated $1 himself as well. So we appreciate that, guys. Thank you for the feed my baby. All right. Well, my next guest, he and I made a bet on this show about what would happen when Donald Trump spoke to the Libertarian Party National Convention. And, well, God bless it, we don't owe any money at all. Remzo Martinez from AMP America joining us live right now. Good morning, Remzo. How you doing, brother?
Austin, it's always great when you owe somebody $0 dineros. All I'm going to say.
So what was the bet exactly, Remzo? Set this up for us.
The bet was that by bringing Donald Trump to the LNC to speak right before the Libertarians nominated their presidential and vice presidential nominee, that it would A, unify the party, B, it would actually bring them positive attention, And three, it would actually bring either independents or on the fence voters to want to support their nominee and other down ballot candidates. I think we can say there was a very obvious winner, the winner being Donald Trump. He walked away with everything he could have wanted from that. However, I've never seen the LP more disunified, the LP derided as much. And I mean, we thought that they couldn't lower the bar with the stripper in 2016. Like 2020 barely even counted. It was all just a giant, Zoom boondoggle. But third, I don't know anybody who is on the fence who is saying, oh yeah, you know what? I'm definitely voting libertarian this year. I'm definitely going to vote for Chase Oliver. If anything, it was, I was probably not going to vote. But after seeing what Trump said, especially seeing how they treated Trump, I'm going for Trump. I think the conviction a week and a half later, definitely helped solidify that even more for people. But if we're just talking what happened at the LNC, I think we get to keep our money.
Yeah, no, I think so too. I mean, it's unfortunate, and we're going to hear from Angela McCardle today at 8:30 a.m. Central Time. So about an hour from now, we'll get Angela's take. To her credit, she's out there saying, yeah, there's been incredible pushback to this nominee. But there was pushback to the, Gary Johnson and Bill Weld, only to I say, lesser extent. But there's something particularly repellent about the Chase Oliver nomination to a lot of people who might have considered the Libertarian Party. However, McCardle is saying that they think that they can take a lot of votes away from Biden, which if you're a libertarian for Trump, then that's ostensibly a good thing, right? That you can kind of get the Gays for Gaza vote, right? You can get the anti-war protesters who are on Columbia College campuses setting up tent cities and things like that. If they can't vote for genocide Joe Biden, well, I mean, you've got an ally in Chase Oliver who is 100% on board with the progressive left's message when it comes to the conflict between Israel and Gaza, right?
I watched her live stream yesterday where she was talking about how she actually endorses the candidate, which is when your people have to wonder whether or not the chairman of your party is going to endorse the party's nominee. I think that's already, a bad place to start from. But she emphasized that, this is going to help take votes away from Biden in blue states. Right there, what that does is that solidifies another thing. And Trump even called this out. He's like, if you want your 3%, do what you've always done. If you want to win, vote for me. So the big emphasis that we always get all the time is whether or not these people are actually running to win or they're running to just be, the bronze medalist. Or I think in our case, I don't believe they will even be a bronze medalist. I think they're coming in fourth under Jill Stein. Larry Sharp on the Brian Nichols show went ahead and laid out the facts that Jill Stein is raising fistful of cash compared to what the libertarians are bringing. So right there, it's like we're not even fighting for 3%.
Jill Stein. I mean, what about Robert F. Kennedy? I mean, could the LP come in
Robert
fifth?
F. Kennedy too. I mean, I think Robert F. Kennedy is going to have a harder problem because of ballot access. I actually think that people will be surprised. So when you include RFK in there, here's my prediction right now. I think Trump wins an electoral landslide. I think Biden comes in second. I think Jill Stein comes in third. RFK comes in fourth, primarily because of ballot access issues. I think the LP takes less than 1% this year. I would be surprised if they broke more than 1%. But right there, it brings the big question into play. Are they actually playing a national campaign where at least the intent is to win, even though the odds are against them in astronomical ways? I think you would have to be stupid to say that you actually think a libertarian nominee can win a national election right now. Lars Mapstad at least said, listen, I'm not running to win. I'm running to break 270, which if that had been the case, running to break 270 just means that Biden becomes president again. There's no way that was not going to happen. If you break 270, it goes to the House and the Senate, and then that's how it lands. It's just not happening. So I don't think that this at all brings people on. I mean, even with Gary Johnson in 2016, people reluctantly came on board because you dealt with Trump and Clinton, the two most unpopular candidates for a general election cycle in U.S. history. 2020 was a different animal. At least Jo Jorgensen was a known character within libertarian circles because she had been a vice presidential nominee a decade and a half prior. But right now, this is just, I don't know anybody. And this is the thing. It was the on the fence voters. It was the independents. I knew people who would not identify as being a libertarian who said, I'm going to vote for third party for the first time. Silence. Absolute silence.
If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show, I'm speaking to Remzo Martinez from AMP America about the aftermath of the Libertarian Party's national convention last week, where Donald Trump addressed the delegation and asked them to vote for him to stop Joe Biden. I think many people who self identify as libertarians are going to be voting for Donald Trump because of the candidate that the LP has pushed forward. The particular candidate, Chase Oliver, is sort of like they call him gay Joe Jorgensen, which is funny, but I don't have any problem with him being gay, but his position when it comes to the rights of children is quite off-putting. I don't know if you saw any of the interviews or the shorts that were being shared of the discussions that I had with him when it came to drag queen story hour and the transitioning of minors chemically but not surgically. I mean, there isn't a whole lot of room, and I spoke to our friend Courtney Conover about this yesterday. There really isn't a whole lot of room between Chase Oliver and the Green Party candidate, whether it's on borders, whether it's on social issues. I mean, he's sort of he's basically like Black Lives Matter if they believed in capitalism.
Yeah, this is a candidate who, my biggest issue, and some people, I need to go therapy for this, and I agree with them. My biggest issue is that the lockdowns of 2020 were the biggest civil rights infraction in the 21st century. And that should be where somebody, whether or not they're going to help you or not. And it's very unclear as to where I'm seeing some people who I consider smart individuals defending his vaccine stance, which was the whole, well, if your boss is making you get a vaccine, go get another job. It's like that's a very elitist mindset to have.
That is the
I wasn't
libertarian
wearing a
mindset, though.
mask
That is the
proudly in
libertarian
2020.
mindset, though, right? Even if
Yeah,
it's an
but it
elitist
wasn't the
mindset, but
idea of, yeah, no, it was this idea that you can't even attack it. It's like when, the Independent Institute and others were saying, well, if you want to have blockchain vaccine passports, it's inherently libertarian because it's on the blockchain. And it's like, how stupid is that? That makes no sense at all. Just because something is using a technology it's inherently libertarian. No, that's techno-fascism if you want to take it a step further. But I don't see anything that remotely says that this person is serious. And he went to all 50 states, and it's like that doesn't matter if you're appealing to libertarians. The big thing right now is that you're fighting for that middle group of people who I would say lean right. They're your Obama Trump voter. They voted for Obama in 2012. They voted for Trump in 2016. They were pretty split down the middle in 2020. They want to live their lives peacefully and they want to be left alone. And they're going to vote for the person who they think will not get them disinvited from Thanksgiving. And I think a lot of those people are looking at Robert F. Kennedy as a legitimate person that they can go ahead and vote for. So assuming that this even matters, the big question is, why don't they like Trump? Do they not like Trump because he's a Republican? Really ask yourself, people, is Trump a Republican or is Trump his own thing? Trump is always going to be for Trump. He's never been a party guy. Remember, he won the 2016 election in spite of the GOP. He didn't win it because of the GOP. Has he enabled some bad tendencies? Absolutely. No one's ever denied that. But when we look at what's happening right now with the Joe Biden crime family itself, you seriously need to ask. And when I see people saying, oh, yeah, I will absolutely vote for Chase Oliver, what are you voting for? I will say for the first time ever, you're not just voting for another person, you're voting against yourself. This isn't, oh, by voting for Chase Oliver, you're voting for Joe Biden. I would say no. By voting for Chase Oliver, you're voting for higher inflation. You're voting for World War III. You're voting for a second lockdown. And if people think that's not happening, and I get this all the time, you have to stop saying that. You have to stop talking about that. They'll never do that again. When has the government ever taken something from us and actually given that power back, actually given those freedoms back? It's going to happen. It's either going to be bird flu or it's going to be a climate crisis. This is the one topic that gets me angry. Joe Biden will absolutely, I 100% believe this. He will lock down the economy again and declare martial law. I absolutely believe he's capable of that.
We're speaking to Remzo Martinez this morning about the 2024 elections. If you're just tuning into the show, do us a favor, click that like button. And if it's your first time here, the follow button as well. We'd love to have you join us for our regular schedule, Mondays through Fridays, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. I'm speaking to Remzo Martinez from AMP America about Donald Trump's speech to the Libertarian National Convention, about the candidate that they put forward, and about the impact that it could have on the election this fall. Most of the national polls right now show Donald Trump leading. Are you of the mind that the conviction of Trump, and keep in mind the Georgia trial now looks like it's going to be after the November election, do you think that really helped him? I mean, financially, he raised a lot of money, but do you think that a lot of people are just going to kind of be like, well, I'm going to vote for the guy that they actually, that they convicted? I mean, what do you think this has in terms of impact on the outcome of the election?
I don't think anyone believes that this conviction was legitimate. When they actually look at the charges themselves and how this judge who typically brings felonies to misdemeanors decided to go ahead and amplify every check that he wrote as an individual felony, right there, that says a lot. There are people I know who don't register to vote. They don't show up. They have good intentions. They never show up, who are like, I'm going to go up and vote for Trump this time, because they don't see this as I'm defending him because I just love Trump. They're looking at this as, if they can do this to a former US president for something that is barely even a white collar crime, what can they do to me? And then they remember how they acted during the lockdowns. They remember how they acted in the first year of Biden and everything, when it was way worse in terms of the rhetoric and everything. I think they've actually calmed down the rhetoric the last couple of years. But, year one of the Biden administration, where he's threatening people's jobs, and, the January 6th prisoners who were still sitting in jail without actually being formally charged of a crime and stuff like that. They're like, I have to vote for Trump because I'm voting for myself. To reemphasize my prior point of voting for Chase Oliver is voting against yourself in this case. It might as well be a vote for Biden. I'm not saying that, but it might as well be. I think that he is essentially going to be seen by a majority of the country, primarily the Midwest, as the white Nelson Mandela. I think if you put this man in jail He's still going to be posting. He's still going to be doing interviews from his cell. I think what this does is this brings out people because they are in fear of their lives. They're in fear of their livelihood, their opportunities to take care of themselves and their family. This is a vote not for Donald Trump. This is a vote for themselves. I think this conviction has solidified it.
Interesting.
My biggest worry is whether or not they will strip him of Secret Service protection in prison.
It's definitely something to keep an eye on. Remzo, if you were going to ask Angela McCardle anything when she comes on the show later today at 8:30, what would you ask her?
Nothing. I don't really see the LP as a viable player in this election. I don't need to know anything more. I don't need to ask anything more. I think Angela McCardle as a person is a phenomenal person. And if Donald Trump is able to win in 2024, I think that is because she delivered a huge opportunity for people to really get their minds right about this. The concessions he made, he will appoint a libertarian to his cabinet. He will go ahead and free Ross Ulbricht. He will not start new wars. I think that is because of her. I think the country would be indebted to her. As the chairwoman of the LNC, though, I would say, like, I don't think she's going to be in that position another term. I think this is probably her last term, because should Trump win and should she get that praise, the counter side to that is because of what you did, you weakened our own candidate. That's saving Coke to beat Pepsi because of Dr. Pepper. It just, I'm sorry. Both ends of it could be true. Great American has done something great for liberty and freedom in our lifetime. From a business perspective, if you're looking at everything else, I would say that, the deed is done at this point. So no, I don't have any questions. I think for a lot of people, if you're still questioning who you want to vote for at this point, don't. Because if you're undecided now, if you're a swing voter now, if you don't know what is directly impacting you now, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what will sway you, but I know what I'm doing. And I'm a libertarian. I'm voting for Donald Trump in November.
Remzo, and is there anything else that you'd like to share with our listeners before we let you go today?
Go ahead and follow me at Hey Remzo, HeyRamso, and catch Austin and the others at AMP America, ampamerica.com, at AMP America News on X. Thank you, Austin.
Thank you very much, Remzo. We appreciate your time. Thanks for being so generous. See you later, Remzo. All right. Give him a round of applause. Looks like we're getting a little bit of a choppy slowdown over on rumble.com this morning. I checked my internet feed. Looks like everything's nice and clear on my side of things. So it might just be a little bit of a rumble hiccup this morning. No idea, but I'm monitoring my kilobits per second, and I'm pushing in the green and staying strong in the green. So not on my end of things. Once in a while, some websites struggle a little bit. So I did drop the link to the chat to the alternatives feed. Remember, you can always view or listen to the Wake Up America show at the website, wakeupamericashow.com, where we have an audio-only feed and the video feed embedded as well. So if there's ever any problem with any of the social sites, we typically do have it over at wakeupamericashow.com, except I completely forgot that now that I'm on Rumble Studio, now it's not at wakeupamericashow.com, right? Because since I changed to Rumble Studio, it's no longer streaming live over there from my old streaming thing. And I just realized that while we're on the show right now. So I do have to remedy that. Anyways, Anthony Fauci, in one ear, out the other, in one side of the mouth, out the other. Take a listen.
The COVID vaccine 100% effective? I don't believe any vaccine is 100% effective. So although you don't like to see breakthroughs, the fact is this is one of the encouraging aspects about the efficacy of the vaccine. It'll either protect you completely against infection. If you do get infected, the chances are that you're going to be without symptoms, and the chances are very likely that you'll not be able to transmit it to other people.
Completely versus no vaccine is 100% effective. So here he is in 2024.
The COVID vaccine 100% effective? I don't believe any vaccine is 100% effective.
Okay, well, no vaccine is 100% effective, Fauci says. And then he says it's completely effective, which I don't know about you, but in my world, at least when I was taught English, completely means 100%, means complete, right? In the entire thing, not 99% effective, not 75 or not 99.99, right? That's not complete. Complete is
So although you don't
100%.
like to see breakthroughs, the fact is this is one of the encouraging aspects about the efficacy of the vaccine. It'll either protect you completely against infection. If you do get infected, the chances are that you're going to be without symptoms, and the chances are very likely that you'll not be able to transmit it to other people.
Boy, that just doesn't sound the same here. Here's Marjorie Taylor Greene reading him the riot act yesterday on this hearing.
Do you represent science, Mr. Fauci?
I am a scientist who uses the scientific method to gain information.
Yes or no?
No, that's not a yes or no
Yes,
answer.
it's a yes or no.
I don't think it is.
Okay, well, we'll take that as a you don't know what you represent. You confess that you made up the COVID rules, including
I didn't hear what you
6
said.
feet social distancing and masking of children.
I never said I made anything up.
You admitted that you made it up. You
I
made it
didn't
up
say
as you went.
I made it up.
So are you saying this is fake news, Mr. Fauci?
I didn't say I made anything up.
What did you say?
I said that it is not based in science and it just appeared.
But you also told the American people they had to distance by 6 feet. They had to wear masks. Do you think that's appropriate? Do the American people deserve to be abused like that, Mr. Fauci? Because you're not doctor. You're Mr. Fauci.
She actually looks kind of hot here.
In my
not
few
gonna
minutes.
lie. Even though it's a butch-built body.
That man does not deserve to have a license. As a matter of fact, it should be revoked, and he belongs in prison.
Suspend.
This was a time in history where you got to throw out the first pitch at the Washington Nationals baseball game while Americans were.
Boy, do I remember that day after he had been telling us all, condescending to us all about wearing masks. There he was out there sitting right next to two people
Were
not
forced
wearing
to
his
stay
mask.
home and watch such events that they love from at home alone on their televisions. And what a hypocrisy this picture shows. Here you are without your mask, with empty seats everywhere. Remember the cardboard cutout fans? That was one of the most insulting things to Americans, having to watch the games from home where you got to go and enjoy the game and sit right next to people not following the 6 feet of distancing, not wearing your mask, and everyone else was forced to stay home and stop enjoying life. And your science here, your science is displayed perfectly in this picture where children in school were put in plastic bubbles because of your science, your repulsive, evil science.
Marjorie. Good morning to the 1,017 people watching us over at x.com. It's really an exciting phenomenon where we have these two social networks where we stream the Wake Up America show, and both of them they're kind of competing when it comes to terms of numbers. And I love rumble.com. We're streaming at Rumble Studio. The fact is though that if you don't get the Rumble Studio, if you don't get the bump, right, if you don't get featured, then typically you're not going to get those big numbers over at rumble.com. So I mean, I'm very thankful that I've been wise in building up all of my social networks, taking an all of the above approach. And, we've got 22 people over on YouTube as well. I haven't invested a lot of time and resources into YouTube just because I know they hate me and I know that I can't be there in the long term. So I'm glad that I have x.com because without even having to get bumped, without having to do anything or beg for attention, 1,022 of you are watching me over at x.com this morning. I'm grateful. Thank you. Welcome to the show. I'm very glad to have you here, and I'd love to have you become a regular guest. The Wake Up America show streams live Mondays through Fridays from 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. So if today is the very first time that you find yourself watching the Wake Up America show, we'd love to have you be a regular guest. The show's scheduled again 5 days a week, 2-hour stream in the mornings, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. We typically have an absolute blast. You get great clips, up-to-date news, and amazing guests like the guest that's about to join me here in about 5 minutes. We're going to hear from Camelia Peterson. She's a regular guest Mondays through Fridays, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8 a.m. Central Time. And we love to talk to her about the fun stuff, the silly stuff. I know she likes the hard-hitting news. But I'm going to show you this tweet here in just a moment. I do have to say thank you to Guokas, who asked, why is Congress talking to this liar again? Exactly, and thank you for that Rumble answer. But let's get to this story yesterday, because this chick has been popping up on my radar in the last few months. She recently had been fired from Turning Point USA for some of her comments about the Jews. Not a big fan, apparently. Morgan Ariel says, if he can't buy me a house, I'm not interested. This is the bare minimum if you want to take on a wife and children. Lol. Very funny. Morgan Ariel. She is a Christian activist, a lioness for Jesus Christ, a truth seeker, and fashion designer at Shop One God. So she's got the full-blown Christian grift going on, but she let him hit it raw. Now she's a single mom. And she wants to tell you how to live your life. Don't you just love it, guys? Don't you just love being lectured about how to live a better life from people who their entire life is one giant sin? I love Pearl's comment. She says, what a world we live in where single mothers think they deserve to be provided for. Lamau. You were supposed to be a virgin. At the very least, bring no other kids. Exactly. Men like young, beautiful virgins with no tattoos, right? Right. You let him hit it raw. Now you're a single mom. Rachel Wilson says, you screw yourself over with this entitled princess mentality. Imagine all the ladies who are in their early 20s passing over great guys just because they don't own homes yet. These men will be great providers as time goes on. We don't start out financially set. You're supposed to meet young men and start a family, and your finances improve as your family grows. That's how it works. It's BS mentalities like this which are to blame for our abysmally low birth rate. Also, Morgan, you're supposed to be a Christian. Why are all your takes materialist in nature? Very funny, very interesting. You let him hit it wrong. Now you're a single mom. I will not be lectured to by any single mother, except for my next guest, who is a single mother. Camelia Peterson joins us live in less than 5. Don't you dare go away, or I will slap the out of you. We'll be right back on the Wake Up America Show, but not at wakeupAmericaShow.com, on X and on Rumble. Wake Up America Show bonus content takes a look at one of the biggest underground themes in politics that has gone mainstream in recent years, the Overton window. The Overton window is a concept introduced by Joseph Overton, indicating that only a narrow range of policies in areas such as education are seen as politically acceptable. This window defines what politicians believe they can support without jeopardizing re-election. The Overton window is crucial for understanding societal and political change. It limits politicians to endorsing policies that are seen as legitimate by society. Policies outside this window, though existent, are typically not supported as they could alienate voters. This window is not static. It can shift or expand based on societal values. While politics can occasionally push this boundary, it's more commonly moved by gradual shifts in societal norms and values. Consider education policies, which vary widely. Society largely agrees on the necessity of education, but how it's provided is up for debate, ranging from full government provision to complete privatization. Most politicians support education policies that fall within a moderate spectrum, such as publicly funded schools or regulated private institutions. Extreme policies like total government control or no government involvement are rarely endorsed. The change in the Overton window over time is evident in historical shifts like prohibition. Once inside the window, making alcohol illegal is now seen as a bygone mistake, showing how societal values can shift political boundaries. The Overton window underscores that politicians are constrained by what is politically feasible, rather than merely acting on personal preference. They tend to support policies that align with societal norms and are likely to preserve their electoral viability. Politicians often follow rather than lead. It's societal forces, family, media, schools, that shape the political landscape more than individual political figures. For anyone looking to affect policy change, understanding the Overton window is key.
Pushing for policies outside the current window requires broad societal influence and acceptance before politicians will likely lend their support. Even if your favored policy is currently acceptable, consider whether there could be better alternatives that haven't yet garnered mainstream political support. Sometimes, reevaluating ideas outside the current window can reveal untapped opportunities for advocacy and change.
Welcome back to the Wake Up America show. I'm Austin Peterson. Let's rise in freedom. Happy to have you here. Click that like button. If it's your first time here watching the Wake Up America show, how about you click the follow button as well? The Wake Up America show is a 2-hour, Monday through Friday, Liberty extravaganza. We've got all of the fun, all of the freedom, and sometimes we goof around and we talk about things that aren't necessarily libertarian because, well, I like to think that the Wake Up America show is like, it's not a libertarian show for libertarians, right? We're not all like, anarchy, burn down the state, drugs. No, it's more like a libertarian show for normal people. So sometimes we talk about stuff that doesn't even have anything to do with libertarianism necessarily, right? So that's because we're normal people, which means, of course, we're not real libertarians. Ha ha. My next guest, well, I wouldn't call her normal in any sense of the word. As a matter of fact, she used to be a lot more normal, but now these days, boy, she's just becoming just so much more establishment. She's coming out with opinions on things like be nice to your representatives, or I understand how politicians feel sometimes. Elitist garbage. Joining us now for her regular Tuesday, Thursday hit at 8 a.m. Central Time is the lovely Camelia Peterson. What's up, Camelia? How you doing?
Good morning. Just, call me a rhino. That's what I am these days, an establishment rhino.
Glad to have you here, CJ. Let's talk about something that's not like political in nature. What do you say?
I think that's good. We need a little non-political content.
Okay, I'm going to pull up this this tweet by this Morgan Ariel character. She has got resting bitch face to the max, I'll tell you. She is a Christian. She's a single mom. Not that there's anything wrong with that, Camelia, although we can distinguish, we can delineate, we can divide, right, and say, okay, there's a difference between a Morgan Ariel and a Camelia Peterson. We'll talk about that later. But Morgan Ariel, she's a Christian, she's a single mom. She tells people how they need to live their lives all the time, and none more so than her potential suitors when she tweeted, if he can't buy me a house, I'm not interested. This is the bare minimum if you want to take on a wife and children. Camelia, agree, disagree, something in between?
I disagree. Okay, so here's the thing. This used to be, still is for some people kind of the metric, when you wanted to marry somebody's daughter and you had to meet with her dad and he wants to know, like, do you have a job? Like, do you have a place to live, right? Can you get a house? Can you buy a house? And like there were some minimums there. So I do agree that, a man should go into a relationship having some stability, but I think the demand that you be able to buy a house is, especially in today's market, maybe a little unreasonable.
Yeah, I would think so. In this market, definitely unreasonable. But here's the thing, you would go and meet with the dad, and he would what? I mean, if you had a job, that used to be enough. We used to be dirt poor, Camelia. It used to be 1920s. It didn't used to be that you had to buy somebody a diamond ring. I mean, that was all propaganda campaigns by the De Beers Foundation to try and convince men. You had to have 2 months' salary, and then it's like, oh, okay, well the profits are down. Now it's got to be 6 months' salary. And so the expectations, and I know we talk a lot about women's expectations, but I mean, the expectations here for what I would call a mid, right? I know that most guys who are thirsty and who, couldn't necessarily get a lot of women, they might place her a little higher on the attractiveness scale here. But quite frankly, if you didn't have all the pancake makeup on and there wasn't the filters, I would definitely say it's like a Persian Lebanese, like 5. But she is a single mother, but she demands a house, and she has a child. So, I mean, I guess women have a really hard time judging their own sexual marketplace value, don't they?
Sure. And I think that, especially in her case, that a lot of this is engagement farming. Does she believe it?
Right.
Probably. She has an inflated ego, no doubt, because she gets, I'm sure, a lot of thirsty boys in her replies that inflate her ego. But she's just, she's been out there putting out the hot takes for quite a while now. So you sent me something and reminded me that I had heard of her before, because TPUSA finally ditched her as an ambassador after all of her anti-Semitic content. And it's amazing to me, like TPUSA has a little bit of a problem with this. There's a little bit of an infestation that goes on with those kind of, right. I mean, so this is not a new issue for TPUSA. They've had other people that are their ambassadors, and they have lots of social media ambassadors, and there's like a requirement that they post on their main account like so many times a year or something like that. But you would think that for the reputation of their organization that they would vet them a little better, because I think that they would have found that if they had looked at her social media. But yeah, she's very anti-Semitic in what she posts online.
Okay, so she buys into the Nick Fuentes garbage, understood, gets fired from TPUSA, single mother out there, engagement farming. Okay, totally get it. But even for those people out there who aren't engagement farming, it's becoming more and more common that we see this kind of entitled mentality here, this spoiled Western woman who demands everything, but they don't really offer anything in return other than their looks, Camelia. I mean, vapid, and without the makeup, they lose their superpowers to a large extent here. But I mean, there's this saying that's a lot of red pill guys have been saying, maybe you have heard it, is that men today have to work 10 times as hard to meet a woman and be with a woman who is 10 times worse than his grandma was.
Maybe.
Right. See, like we have to work 10 times as hard in order to meet the expectations of a woman who is 10 times worse than our grandmother. How do you respond to that?
Sure. Well, I think that it's true that, I mean, you do have to work harder to meet a woman
for lower quality women. Remember, don't forget the other side of the equation.
Sure.
We have to work harder for women that suck. They are bitches. They are not virgins when they come into marriage. They have entitlement mentality. They put pancake on their face. They have children out of wedlock, and they demand everything from us.
I agree to a large extent. I do think that the men bear some responsibility in this, because I think this is a kind of a cultural issue right now, and we've talked about this before.
Because you can never just let women suffer any sort of responsibility for their behavior whatsoever. It always has to be shared, and women can never ever be fully blamed for their consequences, their actions. It's always someone else, right, Camelia?
There's always a yin and a yang, right? There's, even when it's out of balance like it is now, there is more to the story. There's never, just like in a divorce, there's never just one story. But I do think that, a lot of these girls have come up with these expectations that they see, they've seen in media and in their movies, and also, with the way they've been raised. I think that, their parents have, we live in a decadent society. The vast majority of them have not known what it is to want, or to need anything, they've had all their basic needs filled, and then some, a lot more.
Okay, well, wait a minute. Pause that, Camelia, because again, I know you don't like it when I do this, but you're only 50% right about that, because the truth is that young men will always know what it means to want. We'll always know it. There are very, very few trust fund baby boys. Okay, it happens, but for the rest of us, we're gonna have to work. There's an old Tosh.0 joke. I don't know if you know him. He's this comedian, used to do a talk show, and he said that being an ugly woman is like being a man. You're gonna have to work. So when you talk about like being pampered, being spoiled, living decadent lifestyles, that's about 50 to 55% of the population.
50 to 55% that live that way.
Yes,
I'd
men
say
have
that's
to
probably
work, Camellia. We have to work. We
right.
have to.
I
Yeah,
think
I
that
don't get to just show up here on the Wake Up America show live stream in the morning and pull my tits out of my shirt and post thirst traps online and get views. Okay, there's 200 people watching me over on Rumble.com. Thank God for X.com, where my opinions can actually be free and be heard and be mattered. But I don't get that advantage in life. I have to work, Camellia. Like, no, I don't get anything handed to me in this life. I have to grab for
sure.
everything.
And I think that's where the differences between men and women come into play, in that because men are so much more, visually oriented in terms of, how they view women, that women have, like, men respond when women do those behaviors online. They get that that validation and that affirmation from men, and I think it gives them a false sense of what they need to do to get and to keep a man. Or what, as we've seen on a lot of the, when we talk about, what happens with the dating apps, it's not even that they're so much concerned about keeping a man anymore. It's that validation that, feeds their egos, and that's a lot of times enough for them. So they just, they keep swiping and they don't even really, find a commitment. Now, I will say, on the other hand, in real life, I think there are a lot of women who aren't just looking for that validation. They want more than that. They do actually want a long-term relationship with men. But I think they've been set up to fail. And if they don't come to that realization, they will fail in their relationships, in that, they're, like we've talked about it many times, their expectations are just out of whack, and they don't feel like they have to do anything to keep at their end of, of a relationship where both people contribute in different ways, but it should be in equal ways, even if that looks different.
Well, I married a woman who reminds me of my grandmother's, and she is giving, she is kind, she is friendly. But the thing about Stephanie that made her different is that she was not exposed to the world, right? So Stephanie was not worldly. She had, when she was a young girl, she had international travels and things like that. But for the most part, she lived with her mother most of her life. She didn't have lots of boyfriends. She had one boyfriend, and she didn't do a whole lot of social media. And for her, it wasn't about being a star and being famous and getting lots of attention from boys all the time. So she basically lived sort of like a nun to an extent, right? She went to work, she did her job, she went home, she stayed with her mother until the day such a time came when she met me, and then her life really sort of kicked into high gear. And I would say that's an ideal scenario. That's a rare scenario these days, right?
Yes.
You're not going to
Yes.
meet women like Stephanie out there. So, like, you can learn all the pickup artist game that you want in the world, and you're not going to meet a Stephanie, right? Unless you run for president of the United States and the U.S. Senate, and be, manage to find the number one groupie of your campaign who happens to be like Stephanie. It's just not going to happen. So the problem. So the problem is that I think women have been tainted, Camellia, in this era, and I'm excluding you because you're of a different generation than these young women. But I did get out, out of the dating pool at just probably the last, the last helicopter out of Saigon, right, or the fall of Vietnam. But I think young women, unfortunately, have been tainted and put into a scenario where I think it's funny. We hear a lot about how women have all this emotional intelligence and empathy and stuff like that. I actually think the opposite. I really think that H.L. Mencken, in defense of women, he was absolutely correct in terms of cold, emotionless, pure rational behavior. I see that much more from women than I do from men. That's what this is, right? This is what this Morgan is displaying. She's telling us here that she is cold as ice. She is completely business focused. It's a totally transactional question when it comes to relationships. That had been my experience before I met Stephanie. And I think that, unfortunately, these young women have been tainted, not just by pop culture and by politics, but from growing up in a society, as you explained, that is a decadent society, but from social media and dating apps definitely is a large part of it. But I think that the pampering of the parents, and here I am getting ready to have a little girl. I don't know how I'm going to navigate the perils of this situation. How do I raise her to not be a bitch, Camellia? How do I raise my daughter to not be a bitch?
Well, and I think that, you're right. I mean, we have the decadent society part, but too, this kind of goes back to also this view that we have that children need to be socialized, right? That, you have to send them to certain schools or to a school or traditional school, or you have to have them do all of these things because they need that socialization. And the problem is I think the socialization actually can have a negative impact, sometimes more than a positive. And also this idea that we don't, when I was growing up, I went to a very, very small, like one room schoolhouse type school. And so that was like, I would not change that. I think that was good. Is it not for everyone? Maybe not. But the thing is that the one thing that I had that I think a lot of kids don't have now is that my social experience included a lot of adults. I was around adults, a mixture of kids and adults, like all the time. And so I learned how to, and like the adults respected, they didn't just treat me as a child who needed to go play and go away and not be included in conversations. And so I think that we have polarized our children and given them a disadvantage, in that we kind of put them in this, oh, you're just a child box. And so, you have your own kids table, your own room, you go do that and let the adults do their thing. And I think that's detrimental to a child's development and to, girls, especially too, because I think that, they need those father figures, those role models, but they also need to see that in other men in their lives as well. I just think that that's been a huge drawback. So I think, when you talk about what can you do for your children, I think including them in virtually everything. Like there was nothing when I've been raising my girls, like there was very little that we went and did that they could not come. Like I just, there's no reason. There's very few occasions when they can't come. Children should be included.
So she's a single mother. She's a Christian. She's out there. She's making all these kinds of demands. You're a single mother, ambiguous on the religious question. But do you sort of, and I know that, you're a beautiful woman, Camelia. You still have a lot of life ahead of you. You're having, all these political adventures in Missouri. So, you're a very eligible bachelorette here in the state of Missouri. And trust me, you have plenty of suitors. But there is this question of sexual marketplace value, and it's things like age, beauty, and what you bring to the table in terms of children, right? Do you think about those things, or do you sort of do you yourself struggle with these things? Do you say to yourself, well, do you say I'd rather just be single than have to lower my standards? Or do you sometimes look at guys that are that want to date you and go, well, you know what? Maybe I should be a little bit more forthcoming or open about what it is, Camelia. How do you look at it? Because, you're you're not in the same situation as her, but it's a similar kind of predicament.
Okay. So full transparency. It is. Sometimes it's not easy because the thing is you're right. My standards are my standards, and I'm fairly unwilling to compromise on those. That said, I think I'm pretty open-minded too, but we like what we like, right? And every once in a while, do I think, do I need to lower my standards? And I think maybe, but I just can't bring myself to do it because especially at this point in my life, it's probably not worth it. If I was younger, maybe
you'd rather be alone.
I don't know. It's a push and pull. It's conflicted about it, right?
Would you rather share a high value man with other women, or be with a man who is lower than you in status, looks, income, his sexual marketplace value? Would you rather share a high status man with other women, or be with a man who is lower than you on the totem pole? A or B? No, there is no C. You're not going to Kobayashi Maru this, Camelia. Would you rather be with a lower status man than you, or with a high status man and share him with other women?
Oh, wait a minute. You flipped the order now. But
it's the same thing. A or B? Would you rather share a high status man?
A.
You'd rather share the high status man.
No. Flip it back over. What in the world?
Wait. Camellia, so you're telling me that rather than
I don't
share
share.
a man who will share his resources with you, he will give you everything that you want. He's handsome, he's articulate, he's got a huge vocabulary, and he the only thing that you have to worry about is that just every once in a while he's dating somebody else, right? But he's
Nope.
otherwise he's loving to you, he's kind to you, he treats you well. No.
Nope.
You'd rather be with the guy with the beer gut, living out in the woods, who, doesn't talk that fancy talk, semi-literate, isn't interested in the things that you're interested in, makes far less money than you make. Maybe he's got 3 or 4 kids. You'd choose him.
Life is trade-offs, and if I don't have the option C of alone, then yes, I will do that before I will share.
Camellia, you lie. You lie.
Nope.
You lie. Now? Let me ask you. Now you are truly exceptional, and that's why we're friends, and that's why you come on the show. So I guess my question to you, follow up, would be there on that one is, do you think that that's the norm? That most women, don't you think most women would say what you said, but then there's the stated preferences, and then there's revealed preferences, Camellia?
Probably. I would say that's fair to say. Here's the thing. You look at this girl, I've forgotten her name, the TPUSA chick, former TPUSA chick. Anyway, you look at someone like her, and I think that her problem is that if she's looking for a man that's going to buy her a house, that means she is saying that she wants a long-term relationship, but she's out there saying she's a Christian, but she's also out there flaunting her body. So she's giving all of these hypocritical signals, and all that's going to get her are the men who are not interested in long-term relationships. All she's getting are the reply guys in her replies, and a man who is interested in something long-term isn't even going to be messaging her on the side because they see what she's doing.
Yeah, my guess is that with women like that, I think they actually hate men. I actually get the impression that she doesn't really want men. She wants an ATM. She wants resources. I get the impression that if she was wealthy, if she was rich and didn't have to worry about things, she probably wouldn't care about men at all. And so that when you say things like, if you have to have a house, or take care of my child if you want to be able to get with me, like that person doesn't want an actual living flesh and blood human being. They just want access to resources, which is entirely different. There's so many different. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, and I think that too, something that factors into this is this idea is that Instagram reel that you shared, that was women being asked the question, if you need men. And
well, let me play it real quick. I've got the clip. I'm playing it right now. Hold on. You won't be able to hear it, but here it is.
No. Women are strong, independent girl bosses. It's always nice to have a man.
Yeah,
but
I feel like it's nice, but
I mean, to have kids, you need a man. But
yeah,
I don't think I don't walk around and be like, I need a man. No, I can be very independent with that one.
Yeah.
No. Oh my God, no. Women do not need men. It's just an added bonus. Love my boyfriend. He's great, but
just nice to not be lonely.
I don't think we.
It's just nice to not be lonely, right? Again, they don't really want a man. They just want their base priorities fulfilled. They just want money, resources, somebody to lift something off the top shelf. In other words, otherwise they don't want anything to do with us. They hate men.
Yeah, I mean, I love the one girl that's immediately yes, I love men.
Yeah, we didn't get to that part. I had to pause it halfway through because we're about to leave.
So she's the exception, but there is one girl in there who immediately, when she's asked, said, yes, I love men. But the others were they're kind of nice, but, not necessary. So I did a Twitter poll, and where it's at right now. And I got a text this morning asking me if, 85% of my followers are men, or if some of the women are jumping over to vote as men to skew the poll. But, the question of, do women and men need each other? And, right now there are far more men voting than women, obviously. But as far as the split, there are far more men, I would say, if you break it down, that are saying that they need women versus women saying that they need men. And I think you're right when you talk about H.L. Mencken and which gender is more, shall we say, can be cold and calculating, like that is women. I remember reading In Defense of Women and just had never really thought about the gender roles from his perspective before. And like reading through that, I was like, oh yeah, for real. Like that makes total sense. And I can see that. And that men tend to be, contrary to what we are told as a society. Men tend to be more sentimental. They get more emotionally attached. And I think we see this too in when men are married for a long time. Or if you have a man and a woman who are married for a very, very long time, and the woman dies, like very often the man will go downhill very quickly and will die soon after. And so men struggle.
I'm going to die soon if I don't get out of this segment, Camelia. I got to get Angela McCardle on the show. It's like 3 minutes till Camelia. Tell them to follow you at Rare Camelia. Anything else you want to say real quick before we go?
No, I do want to say real quickly, though, kind of on a more somber note, that would appreciate everybody keeping the Baker family in their thoughts today, because they are laying to rest this morning, Davy and Natalie, who were killed in Haiti. And so I would appreciate your thoughts and prayers for them today, especially.
Certainly. Camelia Peterson, thank you for your warmth, for your joy, and for putting up with all of the crap that I give you on this Wake Up America show. Let's give her a round of applause. Bye, Camelia. We appreciate her very much. Boy, that's not an easy job doing what Camelia does. But she does a terrific job of putting up with it. Real quick, before I go to the break to go get Angela McCardle from the Libertarian National Committee, today is Killdozer Day, the anniversary when Marvin Heemeyer went down in history with his Killdozer. You can get a Killdozer shirt at ap4libertyshop.com. And just an FYI, you see that price, $25.99? I'm going to go raise that price as soon as the show is over, because that's not enough money. I'm going to raise that price at 9 a.m. So if you want this shirt for $25.99, you're going to have to get it before I can get over there and raise that price. So the Killdozer shirt, Every Decent Man is Ashamed of the Government He Lives Under, is available for sale at ap4libertyshop.com. For the next 30 minutes, you can get it for $25.99. 4 people have it in their cart. $25.99 and only until 9 a.m. because I want to make more money. So I'm going to go raise the price. But you got 30 minutes to get it at that price if you want it. Head on over to ap4libertyshop.com. That's AP, the number 4, ap4libertyshop.com. We'll be right back with Angela McCardle from the Libertarian National Committee, helping to re-elect Donald Trump as a libertarian on the Wake Up America show, not at Wake Up America show, but at rumble.com.
Wake Up America show bonus content takes a look at one of the biggest underground themes in politics that has gone mainstream in recent years, the Overton window. The Overton window is a concept introduced by Joseph Overton, indicating that only a narrow range of policies in areas such as education are seen as politically acceptable. This window defines what politicians believe they can support without jeopardizing re-election. The Overton window is crucial for understanding societal and political change. It limits politicians to endorsing policies that are seen as legitimate by society. Policies outside this window, though existent, are typically not supported as they could alienate voters. This window is not static. It can shift or expand based on societal values. While politics can occasionally push this boundary, it's more commonly moved by gradual shifts in societal norms and values. Consider education policies, which vary widely. Society largely agrees on the necessity of education, but how it's provided is up for debate, ranging from full government provision to complete privatization. Most politicians support education policies that fall within a moderate spectrum, such as publicly funded schools or regulated private institutions. Extreme policies like total government control or no government involvement are rarely endorsed. The change in the Overton window over time is evident in historical shifts like prohibition. Once inside the window, making alcohol illegal is now seen as a bygone mistake, showing how societal values can shift political boundaries. The Overton window underscores that politicians are constrained by what is politically feasible, rather than merely acting on personal preference. They tend to support policies that align with societal norms and are likely to preserve their electoral viability. Politicians often follow rather than lead. It's societal forces, family, media, schools, that shape the political landscape more than individual political figures. For anyone looking to affect policy change, understanding the Overton window is key. Pushing for policies outside the current window requires broad societal influence and acceptance before politicians will likely lend their support. Even if your favored policy is currently acceptable, consider whether there could be better alternatives that haven't yet garnered mainstream political support. Sometimes, reevaluating ideas outside the current window can reveal untapped opportunities for advocacy and change.
Welcome back to the Wake Up America Show. I'm your host, Austin Peterson. The Wake Up America Show is brought to you in part by our friends at Preserve Gold, who want to help you secure your financial future. If central banks are hoarding gold, that might mean something's around the corner. They're some of the smartest people in the world, but even the smartest people in the world can't centrally plan an economy from the top down, can they? No. It's the little people like you and I that have to store up our gold reserves to fight against future inflation. Secure your financial future. Make sure that you've got gold and silver as a cornerstone in your portfolio. Text the word Liberty to 50505. That's Liberty to 50505. Preserve Gold is helping us to fight for the future of economic freedom and personal liberty. You can find out more information about how to invest in gold and silver by texting the word Liberty to 50505. Well, my next guest, Angela McCardle, is going to join us here in just about 1 minute. And the vice presidential candidate for the Libertarian Party, he's in favor of a gold new deal. So if it's good enough for him, it's good enough for you. Text that word Liberty to 50505 and get your own gold new deal at Preserve Gold. Again, one more time, text the word Liberty to 50505.
But he has endorsed us. Donald Trump said he's going to put a libertarian in a cabinet position. He came out and spoke to us. He said he's a libertarian. He has basically endorsed us. And so in return, I endorse Chase Oliver as the best way to beat Joe Biden.
I endorse Chase Oliver as the best way to beat Joe Biden. And the woman whose quote that can be attributed to, joining us live right now, the chair of the Libertarian National Committee, Angela McCardle. Good morning, Angela.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Glad to have you here. What does it mean when you say, I endorse Chase Oliver as the best way to beat Joe Biden?
Well, there's been considerable backlash over our presidential nominee, Chase Oliver. And my duty as chair of the National Libertarian Party is to support our candidate. And I need to do that in a way that, what's a good way to put this? I need to do that in a way that is consistent with reality and how our delegates and our members feel about it. And I think that this is the best way to thread that needle. People, you know, the MC crowd, people who are a little bit more culturally conservative, they're very upset. And I need to hold everything together, you know, as the leader of the party. And the truth is, and I've looked at the polling data, and some of it's publicly available, some of it's not, and has been gifted to me by some very gracious people. The truth is Chase is going to pull 2-1 from Biden as opposed to Trump. And it's going to be challenging. It's going to be challenging to get libertarians to vote for him. It's going to be challenging to get independents who are right of center to vote for him. Kennedy's in the race. What makes the most sense is to lean into the spoiler effect for Joe Biden and the Democrats. And Joe Biden is objectively awful. So no one should be upset about this if anybody's going to engage with this strategy in good faith.
The last time you and I spoke, you came on my show. It was before Donald Trump had spoken at the Libertarian Convention. The convention's over now. What was your take, your reaction to Donald Trump coming up on stage and saying, well, one, I'm a libertarian, which, you know, nobody's a real libertarian but me, obviously. But when he made all of these promises about Ross Ulbricht, a libertarian in the cabinet, but putting us on the parole board, for God's sakes, your reaction?
It's amazing. I mean, that's never happened in the course of history. That's never happened in American politics, where you've had a front runner presidential candidate come and speak to a third party to try to appeal to them and make promises. And those were promises that he and his team have conveyed to me for a few months now. It wasn't just out of the blue. It's not something his speechwriters just threw up on a screen. These were talks that we've had, and I've told them I can't endorse you. I literally chair another political party, but I can tell you what small L libertarians want to hear. I can tell you what you need to say and promise and do to gain like votes in the broader liberty movement with conservatives who are disillusioned by you, with people who you want the support from. I can tell you what needs to happen. And they took it on good faith and they're doing it.
So Donald Trump has made a lot of political promises to the Libertarian Party and to the libertarian movement generally. You're working to try and use your presidential candidate, who is left-leaning and could steal from Biden voters, to reelect Donald Trump as president of the United States. So it is safe to say that you would like to see Donald Trump reelected so that he can fulfill these promises?
Well, I'd like to see the promises fulfilled. I have to be very careful how I speak about these sort of things. I have to only endorse the libertarian candidate. But I've said in the past that Donald Trump is objectively better than Joe Biden. And I know that people are going to scream when they hear that. Oh, that's not fair. They're both evil statists. Okay. There are things that Donald Trump did that we're all very unhappy with. But who's listening to me and saying that they would like to course correct in some areas? It's not Joe Biden. It's Donald Trump. So until we, live in a world where we're going to get, 34% of the popular vote in a three-way election, I'm going to take what I can get while also strategically advancing my candidate.
Angela, I like to talk a lot on this show about how there are stated preferences that people have, and then there are revealed preferences that people have. And when it came to the question of supporting a Chase Oliver versus a Donald Trump, I think for a lot of Libertarian Party members, their stated preferences were things like Donald Trump is a warmonger. He's a criminal. I believe Dave Smith said explicitly that Donald Trump should be in jail for the rest of his life. And the Mises Caucus and many of them who told us that war was the most important issue for quite a long time are not supporting Chase Oliver. As a matter of fact, I saw you share a meme yesterday on your Instagram account, which was sort of depicting Dave Smith as a puny little dog who didn't have the guts to support Chase Oliver. And so the revealed preference seems to be from those right libertarians that Donald Trump is not quite as evil as Chase Oliver is, which I find quite confusing considering the messaging that we've been getting.
I don't actually think it's that confusing. I think that war is incredibly important, and a lot of people believe, whether or not it's true, that if Donald Trump had been in office, October 7th wouldn't have happened. There wouldn't be a bunch of dead women and children in Gaza. It wouldn't be flattened and blown apart by Israel. That the war in Ukraine wouldn't have happened either. And it's not perfect by any means. I don't agree with his foreign policy positions on Iran, for example. But however you square it, however we get to it.
But Trump supports Israel, and
He does.
Chase Oliver does not. He has mirrored the rhetoric from the Mises Caucus, the right libertarians, and called it a genocide in Gaza, and very much is on board with the whole anti-war message, much more so than Donald Trump.
More so, yes. Not perfectly, though. But, I don't want to dress down my candidate publicly. I'm going to do what I can to support him in a very strategic way. I think that the anti-war issue, people are looking at realistic gains that they can make and that it is important to them, but they're looking at it through the framework of reality. Messaging is very important. Anti-war messaging is very important. And when someone misses the mark a little bit, in the eye of the beholder, of course, they're gonna look elsewhere. And the delegates Chase Oliver. But
I mean, why?
Not 100%.
I guess my question is, why do you think? Because you posted that meme yesterday, so you're obviously poking the bear a little bit there. Why do you
Am
think?
I mean, it's a meme. Like, can we not laugh at ourselves?
Sure,
That's another thing that
but you're
needs
making
to
a
be
statement. But
injected.
memes are powerful, Angela, and
Yes.
memes do mean something. You were trying to make a statement there. You were calling him out specifically. You had the name on there, so I'm trying to understand what you were trying to say there. I can understand there was humor. I thought it was funny, but my
It's
question,
funny.
but why do you think Dave is not supporting Chase?
Oh, I mean, Davis stated very clearly why he's not supporting Chase. You know, he does not like the things that have come out of Chase's campaign. But I'm not going to come on your show and drag Chase Oliver indirectly by quoting Dave. That would be a no-go for me. You know, it's Dave's position. My intent with memeing it and poking fun at it is to bring some levity to the situation. Everybody's super pissed off right now. People are talking about, you know, noting him, not having their candidate on the ballot. I've got to step in as the leader and do something to take the tension out of the room, which means sacrifice Dave Smith, who already owned up, you know, to the part that he played in it. It's fine. Sacrifice him in a single meme, clown Chase a little bit with memes, clown myself in memes, you know, put on a literal clown nose and like own like that this is like a clown show, you know, and that's okay. And like make the most of it. And we have been really missing fun, I think, in the Libertarian Party since Dave decided he wasn't going to run. Like you can't just continue to like push the LP wheel
Angela,
without any joy.
I have utmost respect for you. You know, there's a reason why you got across the finish line and the Mises Caucus preferred candidate did not. You have something that Michael Rechtenwald did not have. And I think people now can finally see this now that the smoke and the mirrors of the political process has played itself out. But in regards to you've been dealt a bad hand and you now have to make the best of a bad hand. I think you're making actually a pretty damn good play with the hand that you have been dealt this soon. And I applaud you for it. But I guess I'm just curious, how are you going to deal with the question, the backlash that's inevitably going to come to you to answer questions about what Chase has said about things when it comes to transitioning children and when it comes to drag queen story hours? What's going to be the messaging strategy on that one?
So I just don't agree with it. You know, I don't agree with that. I do not see eye to eye with our candidate on that stuff. I think it's great that he wants to slash government spending. I 100% believe him. I think it's great that he's pretty good on the anti-war position. I'm down for that. And there are cultural things that we just strongly disagree on. And I hope that he improves, you know, that he changes his mind.
You've said things like you want to sort of maximize what Chase can do in blue states. But if you really, truly want to impact the outcome of the election so that Donald Trump has the opportunity to make good on the promises that he made to you, then it's really the swing states that you ought to be focusing on, right?
My swing state strategy is not quite up for public discussion, but it is definitely in the works.
Okay, can you at least hint around the edges here, Angela? The good people of the United States are listening right now, and they're eager to feel confident in this secret strategy.
Well, what do you think is going to happen in swing states?
I don't know. I'm not the chair of the Libertarian National
If
Committee.
the data shows that Chase Oliver pulls more from Biden supporters, 2-1 than he does from Trump supporters, what do you think might happen in a swing state?
The same thing.
It might.
Yes.
It might. And I have quite a bit of leverage in this situation, and I intend to use it. I'll wield it like a cudgel if I need to. We will get libertarian representation, and we will support our candidate.
Who, if Donald Trump asked you, would you nominate to be in the cabinet?
I'd love to see Colonel Douglas McGregor involved in anything foreign policy related. I don't think Secretary of State is going to go to him, but I would love that. I would love to see Corey DeAngelis involved in the Department of Education. I think that would be fantastic. I've been working on a list, you know, of libertarians that we can give to his team. The real challenge, though, and I say this with love, is that so many of the libertarian thought leaders that we adore and revere do not have a lot of experience with corporate management, mergers, slashing departments, things of that nature. They're academics, they're highly intelligent, but you've got to have experience maybe managing a law firm, like I've had, maybe downsizing a department, slashing a corporation, like a mini Elon Musk, something like that. So those are the sort of people that we need. We need people who are ideologically hardcore, but who have real business experience, downsizing and liquidating.
Would you serve if Donald Trump tapped you?
I have not offered my name. I think that I am best suited to continue in this role of making advances, for libertarianism and serving other people up. So it's not a hard no, but I have said, let's find someone else. Don't consider me.
How's ballot access going?
It is going, actually, it's going okay. It's going slightly better than I thought it would be. Yeah. Okay. And we still have, I don't think we've quite reached the 40 state mark, but that's normal because some of them just come in sort of in the last like four or 5 months. We're on track. We're doing better in New York than I thought we would be doing. So we'll see what happens there.
How much are Jill Stein, the Green Party, and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. playing right now in your ballot access strategy?
Quite a bit. It's a difficult year for us when it comes to the general election. And I don't even think you can blame Chase for that. It's really Kennedy. Kennedy is going to suck up a huge amount of the protest vote, the independent vote. It's reality.
If Donald Trump becomes president of the United States and takes the oath of office in early January, what will you do?
Well, I guess I'll be on pins and needles waiting to hear about those cabinet appointments, but I'll continue to communicate with his team and work with him to make sure that he fulfills his promises and also to make sure that he is appreciated and feels that from the broader liberty movement, because we can be very barbed, we could be, like very rude and caustic, and we need to show gratitude and give credit when credit is due.
Angela, what happens to the Mises caucus now in the aftermath of this election? I've seen many of them say they can't support the LP candidate. I mean, you came to power in the party on the back of the Mises caucus. A lot of these right libertarians, they can't support Chase Oliver. They've, sort of backed away, a lot of them. I mean, what happens next for the Mises caucus?
I mean, it's like the meme. Get in, loser. We're going to stop Biden. Like, get in my clown car. It's a suicide mission. Join my suicide squad. Like, this is awesome. This is fun.
Sounds very appealing, Angela. Listen, you're so sweet and generous with your time, Angela, and I'm so grateful that you came on the show. Even though there was a lot of backlash to the last time that you came on, you've got just huge brass balls, Angela, and I respect that. But knowing that I only get you for such brief periods, is there anything of critical importance, of utmost importance, that you think our listeners should know before we let you go?
If you're upset because Chase Oliver is our nominee and you're thinking about leaving the party, that's the wrong decision. Join the party, join the LP, because we are the ones that are pushing the Trump campaign in the right direction. If you want to see Ross Ulbricht freed, if you want to see Julian Assange freed, join the LP and help us continue to be the most powerful voting bloc in the country, because that's what we are right now.
It's a good message, Angela, but maybe the suicide clown car is not the best one. Angela McCardle, chair of the Libertarian National Committee, good luck. Let us know if there's anything we can do to help get the message out. We hope you'll come back again really soon. Thank you very much and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you. What do you all think of Angela McCardle? Should we give her a round of applause? I think so. She is brave. And like I said, she's been handed a pile of poop and she has to figure out what to do with it. It sounds like, honestly, she's making a lot of really good strategic moves, in my opinion. And she's also being very careful about what it is that she says, because, of course, she does have a lot of fiduciary responsibilities and things that she has to do to be very careful about what she says, about how she could potentially stop Joe Biden, not necessarily help Donald Trump. It's a sticky situation, but isn't it fascinating? I mean, I think it's kind of cool. It's an incredible story, and I'm glad that we get it here on the Wake Up America show. There's not a lot of other talk shows that really kind of cover this behind-the-scenes stuff in politics, and just think about what the Wake Up America show brings you here 5 days a week. The Wake Up America show brings you not only incredible in-depth coverage of what's happening in liberty politics, mainstream politics, as well as what's just happening in the news. But then you get those segments with Camelia Peterson, right, where we come on, we're talking about men and relationship, dating, and women and single mom, and we're goofing around, and sometimes we're singing, we're dancing, we're laughing. Is there really a better show in the mornings than the Wake Up America show? I don't think so. No. Speaking of that humility from earlier in the show today, the Wake Up America show streams live Mondays through Fridays, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. And boy, oh boy, would we love to have you be a regular guest on the Wake Up America show. If you want to be a regular guest, you need to click that like button and the follow button so that you can find me anytime that you like. Really quick before we go, though, I do want to say thank you to Rumble.com and Rumble Studio. And I also want to share with you from one of their live reads today, one of our competitors, which I don't mind reading at all. It's time to say goodbye to Starbucks and say hello to Rumble's 1775 coffee. Unlike other brands, this is a coffee that backs free speech and is unapologetic about it. Visit 1775coffee.com. Use their promo code FREEDOM to get 40% off any coffee subscription. That's nice. Coffee comes in medium and dark roasts. It also comes in pea berry, which is similar to Hawaii's Kona coffee. In other words, this stuff is premium. Click the link in the live chat down below or the description. You can also go directly to 1775 Coffee. Use that promo code FREEDOM to get 40% off today. There you go. Bada bing, bada boom. Yes, see, I don't mind a little competition when it comes to the advertising, things like that. Go ahead, give it a try. And then, try mine as well. Compare and contrast. Thank you to Rumble Studio for making live reads like that possible. You're helping to fund the future of economic freedom and personal liberty in media. The future of the Wake Up America show depends on you. Rumble Studio, X.com, all of our friends who have been joining us on the regs. We've got people who've been watching this show since the very beginning. Let's give it up. You the real MVP. Now, what are you going to do? Where are you going to go? It's Killdozer Day, so you're going to exit through the Grift Shop, right? All right. Head on over to ap4libertyshop.com. As soon as this show is over, you better beat me, because I'm going to go raise the price of that Killdozer shirt. I'm going to make it $29.99. You want to save some money? Go to ap4libertyshop.com. Exit through the Grift Shop, and you will be able to get that shirt for like $5 off, because I'm going to go raise that price. So head on over through the Grift Shop. We'll see you guys tomorrow on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Expanse of time, a year might seem like a mere moment, but oh, what a year it's been. In September 2022, Austin and Stephanie Peterson embarked on a journey to wake up America. They began humbly, with just 20 souls tuning in, learning, listening, and though challenges arose, like the looming shadow of YouTube demonetization, their spirit never waned. And now, thanks to you, thousands rise with the sun to join them, to listen, to engage, to be a part of a community. So here's to you, and to Wake Up America, for memories shared, for friends made, for the journey ahead, and for never, ever forgetting to rise and freedom. Happy anniversary.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message. Believe me, Austin Peterson is the best. He's got the greatest Wake Up America show I've ever seen. Whenever I tune in the mornings and watch the live stream, let me tell you, he has got the absolute best content. I love his guests. It's just a total blast to watch, and I highly endorse and recommend the Wake Up America show. It's terrific, believe me.
Is the outdoor of your home about as exciting as a library? Then spice it up and unbore your space with our custom metal signs. Crafted with love and a bit of libertarian magic, you can customize your own metal sign at ap4libertyshop.com. So head to ap4libertyshop.com, customize your own metal sign.